First of all, my name is Peter Chung. I'm the product manager to support NCF 5500. I joined Cisco in 1997, and my first job is engineer to support Cisco 7200 and 7500. So I'm in this industry been more than 20 years, and today I'd like to take this opportunity to give you some update from the NCF 5500 and where it's come from. I think in January, our senior director Kevin already give you some high level of portfolio on the SP. On the overall product family, what's the silicon strategy? But what I'm trying to do to give you in the 30 minutes is give you more update. What's the philosophy we try to build this box? What's the winning factor? And more specifically, this box is come from the web OTT, from SP, how to fit into the enterprise. Okay, so with that, right? So kind of rather historic back here is when Cisco 5 years ago we rebuilt our SP portfolio. And Cisco immediately noticed there's the major IT shipment on their overall spending. So which means from the web OTT customer, you can name it, right? From Google, Facebook, Microsoft, they have been dominant a lot of the overall of the capacity, bandwidth, and overall of the solution they would like to drive. And as SPBU, we are carefully looking at our portfolio. We have the leading the platform on the ASR 9K, CIS, and we are offer the diversified feature, complexity solution in the single box, fully redundant on the system, all kinds of good stuff. But if you look at all the web OTT customers they are looking for, we notice there's slightly different from their requirement. So they are fundamentally looking for 3 parameters. So number 1 is the Ethernet density. So number 2 is the very efficient power consumption. Number 3 would be the openness on the telemetry. So when we look at a portfolio, right, we kind of feel we have a portfolio gap. So we take the very bold move and say, okay, Cisco decided to go with the merchant silicon. So there's no secret here. NCF 5500 is based on the Broadcom DNX family. So compared to DNX family and the Tomahawk, you're probably aware DNX family give you a bigger buffer. So if you look at the entire SP or the data center fabric, right, the Tomahawk is really put into the top of rack or leaf. And DNX Jericho family is a specific position in the spine. So basically, you're a bigger buffer. But overall architecture is kind of fan out from the DM spine, traditional from the north and southbound traffic. From the architecture for the web OTT, you can see it's become west and east. Okay, so 3 years ago, we decided to kick up the NCF 5500, and as today, I think we are very pleased to tell you we are very successful. So previously, some question is the Jericho family could put into SP enterprise. The debate is done because we have more than 500 customers adopt this platform. We pretty much every quarter by quarter have the business grow on this platform. And the solution-wise, I think stay very well is the iOS XR framework. So we are leading on a lot of the second routing EVPN. So using these two combined of solution, of course, right, in the back end, for all the legacy features like layer 2 VPN, layer 3 VPN, we are continue to drive the solution. But Cisco mostly spent on these two technologies combined together for overall architecture. And this architecture not just been used for the data center, SP, also for enterprise. So from enterprise, right, if customer will consider, I like to have a pizza box, and I really enjoy the flexibility for our XR, and we are so interested on the telemetry on this one. We see a lot of campus from the education, they just using the 5501 SE to put in their core, okay? We see the banking. So banking, number 1 is to try to make sure is what? The architecture from the security, redundancy, phase convergency, traffic engineering. So EVPN and second routing is perfectly fit into this solution. So we see a lot of the major banking is working with Cisco based on the NCF 55 architecture to drive the overall their next gen of data center, their traffic, their overall stuff. Okay, and because this platform is based on the Jericho family, so our design principle is really specific follow with Broadcom their roadmap. So basically, right, every new citizen come out, we typically take about 12 months or 18 months to build the new generation, next generation, okay? So you can see our portfolio-wise, right, it's really high density. We offer the modularization and fix. So this is a really interesting topic, right? So if you look at traditional service provider, even for enterprise, the typical layer traffic architecture is north-southbound heavily. And with specific design, it's try to maximize the box redundant. We have dual RP, ISSU, all kind of the good redundant mechanism has to be down the box. And if you look at the current trend, of course, we learned a lesson from the WebOTT is the architecture from north and south become west and east. So west and east is you could benefit from the routing protocol itself to offer you redundant instead of per box. So basically, you just have an ECMP, you have port channel, you have BFD. So the design, you probably could get away on the ISSU, this kind of mindset, because you have a fully redundant mechanism. And this kind of approach cannot be done previously because the per box cost is very high. So now this box is to give you much better from the cost-effective power consumption. So you could gradually design your architecture from north-southbound traffic become more fabric style. So I think Cisco is leading kind of so-called campus design to offer some alternative solutions to say, okay, campus core, campus peering. So fundamental is really expand your topology more west and east, and you could benefit your redundant mechanism from the ECMP, BFD, and port channel. And this has been proven technology. So ours XR is to have a very good brand name from the BGP on the scale, and on top of that, right? So of course you could gradually turn on the EVPN and second routing. And we have a lot of good successful story. Is one of good example I like to mention here is there's one key co-host company. So their business strategy is continue to acquire the business from the worldwide, acquire a different company. And they find out they have a huge management headache because ultimately there some of the company is using competitor A, competitor B. So their design approach is more tend to layer 2 or tend to layer 3. So for them, how to manage and unify the architecture is really the nightmare. So Cisco, in a position to help this company, is okay, we give you the EVPN and second routing. So ultimately, the overall solution only is one. It's very simple. It's a point-to-point or multi-point, either layer 2 or layer 3. And what you are care about is what? First, convergence is for 50 milliseconds. And what? Traffic engineer. So all the problem statement combined together, we give you EVP and second routing combined, you're done, okay? And I think Fred give you some detail about Flex Argo and overall of the micro loop avoidance. This is really the, I shouldn't say secret sauce, right? This is a really true benefit on that one. And again, that context is really also driven by 5 years ago when WebOTT, they tried to manage their traffic engineer. The traditional as today still heavily depend on ISPPT. So ISPPT, you create a tunnel, you create a lot of the management overhead. So it's really now is the tipping point. Customers say, hey, we need to gradually to do the architectural transaction. So Cisco is a leading core-depth style of the all kind of engagement with customer, and gradually we maturize our second routing solution. So this is the context behind. And again, right, you take almost 3 years to step at this point. Our footprint right now is to really expand on the SP, WebOTT customer, and enterprise. So you can see a lot of real world company, a lot of the enterprise, banking, school, it's all is using this platform as the customer like it is the form factor and the pizza box, okay? In traditional, a lot of customers still like to use the modularization, but we gradually see the pizza box is really dominate a lot of the use case because easy to replacement, as long as you have automation tool, right? And if some particular box dead, you just replace it. And because you are fully redundant topology, so your ECMP probably down from 5 to 4. That's all. So your overall of the nightmare to maintain your stability-wise is really proven. Okay. So we'll continue this trend. So basically, when Broadcom have a new chipset, new external TCAM, Cisco for us, my group, we just take 1 year or 18 months to build a next gen. So similar faction is come from Jericho 2. So the key beneficiary is very clear, right? New generation chipset give you better performance, better of the solution on 25 gig. And of course, right, when you ship to the Jericho 2, it's for us to offer 400 gig solution. So we have a consistent strategy and roadmap. And when the Jericho 2C comes out in the prototype in the ready, so on 2021, 20 will be our key focus to leverage this chipset to offer much better scale, feature functionality, and overall of the scalability we are looking for. Okay, so I think the strategy-wise is to play out very well, and this is the where we stand on the platform itself. So this kind of recap of the overall form factor we have, right? So we are starting from 16 slot, 8 slot, and even 4 slot. So 16 slot, 8 slot is really most use case in the web OTT for the super spine or the SP for core. So it's very natural, right? So from web OTT, if you look carefully, look at their feature-wise, it's pretty simple. It's try to looking for high speed. So Cisco using this opportunity to help the customer to transition to the core or LSR functionality. And this is our very first step for the product migration from the core, okay? So in the beginning, we are starting from 16 slot and 8 slot. Of course, we are building the pizza box. Essentially, it's a single chip solution and give you the flexibility for all the connectivity we like to have for the pizza box. And it's very important is our design principle here. So our design principle is really simple, right? So Broadcom chipset offer you the very baseline of the scale. So basically, you could 250 scale or 1 million route to offer you the functionality combined together with ACL, MPLS label, and MAC address. But when we carefully look at all the parameters and data we are saw on the Broadcom offer, we immediately notice, right? It would like to expand our positioning in higher scale, peering, more high scale aggregation. We know this is not enough. So our portfolio on the hardware developing very simple is always offer you baseline and external TCAN. Simple, baseline, external TCAN. So when you offer external TCAN, like say you like to have multiple copy of the full routing table, you can expand onto this one. Give an example from Jericho Plus, you put in external TCAN, you can up to 4 million route. So your use case is significantly enhanced. And from the portfolio wise, right, so when we do the design, it's very simple, right? So we carefully look at the feature, for example, like security. So as today, right, the security demand is much, much higher. And you carefully look at the overall, the chipset vendor able to offer. By far as today, right, MaxTech is the only solution to offer the line rate performance without performance compromise. Okay, so this is dominated by web OTT customer of sure. And you can see the trend from gradually adopted by the enterprise, especially from banking or school. They say, hey, I like to gradually kick in our security, but bandwidth to me is very important. I still like to maintain 100 gig. So our portfolio design is, okay, when we design, we try to maximize our hardware the design, right? Put a max app, put a timing, put external TCAN. We design it. And then we also know, right, customers sometimes very price sensitive, sometimes the use case is different, so we kind of depart some component. So you can see our hardware SKU, right, is quite variant. So basically, customer could pick and choose, so work with the Cisco accounting or with us to optimize your structure. And that optimized structure is, okay, some particular location, you don't require so many 100 gig. You just put some pizza box, for example, 2RU here, you can have a more 1 gig, 10 gig aggregation. And in the meantime, if you like to have the more 100 gig density, you could choose IO modularization or 36 by 100 gig. And every option is give you max set, timing, external TCAN, period. So the logic is very consistent what we drive to next gen, overall portfolio we are like to have as well, okay? Any question for this platform? And a little bit quick recap, right? So in the past 3 years, we are reached the really successful milestone, and there's no more debate about concern about merchant silicon put into the service provider enterprise, because from the feature, the form factor wise is the proven, okay? This is a little bit recap, right? So again, the longevity here, our very important in our design is the invest protection. So what's the invest protection is that when you buy this chassis, we give you a longevity of the life cycle. So we definitely not willing to sacrifice for new generation, and you need to repurchase all the equipment again. So our longevity invest protection is our key principle to design here, and we adopt the new generation chipset for the the speed. And so from Jericho Plus, and Jericho 2, it's more important to transition to 400 gig. Okay, so I'll talk about 400 a little bit. and give you modularization, give you the scale, non-scale. So we see a lot of end-to-end solution you can find from service provider, either for enterprise, right? And they really enjoy the benefit from iOS XR. So you could put the aggregation from the 560, I think David will introduce later, 540, and put into 5501 in pre-aggregation. And from the PE box, if you need to high scale for the VRF, high scale layer 3 VPN, we still have ASR 9K. It's the most popular of H box in the world. And of course, core, you could put it to ASLR or 16 chassis. So stay with Cisco, we have to give you a really, really rich portfolio from the end to end. And especially if you are familiar with our XR, and on top of the automation you've been programming, all the second round EVPN is leading on this architecture and ASR 9K at the same time. So there's no feature discrepancy here. And to me, I've been helping a lot of products many times. So when the Jericho evolved to the Jericho Plus, it's a very key important we try to highlight here. It's 100% feature parity compatible. So to me, this is a big deal. Because sometimes your generation to generation of the chipset, right, you need to rewrite your microcode. But because right now it's more abstraction, more SDK oriented, so when we ship the next generation from Jericho Plus, you look at our roadmap, right, we did not separate out these two different line cards here. Basically, from Jericho to Jericho Plus, 100% compatible. So this is a really big deal for your product transaction. You could quickly adopt the high-speed deployment you would like to have, okay? And of course, right, we are maintaining the similar principle push to the Jericho 2. So when you Jericho 2, you try to migration to 400 gig, right? You don't really need to worry about is this feature support or not. It's compatible, feature parity. And this is really benefit from all the abstraction, SDK developing we are trying to highlight here, okay? Of course, right, the technology evolving is also associated with how to network design, right? And if you look at the previous on the CS1, you typically have the mid-plane, you have a lot of components put together, right? So now, the next gen trend is really agnostic design. It's really direct line card connect to the fabric. And that fabric have the fabric chipset in between here. And more important is your air input is from to back. So previously, like ASR 9K, right, you suck all the air from the bottom and to the up, right? And the airflow need to be in this direction. And this kind of design, right, is not able to meet the overall of the scale you would like to have. And overall, the power consumption you need to be, to do it. So you probably can see, right, virtually all the next gen of the platform here is line card air here, and then from to back. And the elastic connector is really line card directly connect to the fabric. So this is the kind of the first industrial trend and commonly designed from the high-speed network we are trying to see here, okay? Of course, right, there's no secret we are using the Broadcom chipset. And give it an example here, right? If this ASIC, right, give you overall of the 900 gig capacity. So using 900 gig capacity, you could put into the line card, depending on the 36 by 100 gig port. You can see this is a 4 Jericho Plus put into the box. And we have a pizza box. We are using a single chip solution. So with a single chip, you could advantage it for the 900 gig. And this kind of the overall of the single chip of the modularization, based on the Broadcom Jericho Plus, this is our current generation of the line card and product family, and overall 900 gig, and the Jericho Plus also give you the true 25 gig connectivity. So we noticed from Jericho, their SerDes design is the 10 gig, but Jericho Plus is advanced to 25 gig. For Jericho 2, it's become 50 gig. So you'd like to have a native of 25 gig to upstream for all the 25 gigs, the server. So Jericho Plus family we have is the pizza box to give you all the aggregate, the 25 gig. And we see a lot of good adoption from this kind of fixed platform is in the 5G story. So 5G, you look at architecture, right, is more pushed to on the distribution way. So a lot of the computing data center, micro data center is put into close to the radio tower. And you need to have a 25 gig server to connectivity. So this kind of the movement associated with 25 gig on the technology adoption is a perfect timing for this platform as well. So if for enterprise, you have the 25 gig data center you want to connect, we have a solution for you on this kind as well. Okay? This is more recap, right? So keep in mind, right? Our product family always give you two flavor, base and scale. So you can pick and choose, right? If you, on the more high scale application, you like to turn on the BGP peeling as an example here. So this platform now is really popular in the peeling functionality. Very simple, because our portfolios is have the external TCAN to turn on the BGP flow spec, and also you can multiple copy of the full routing table, okay? And you could decide, right? You could have a modularization or fixed platform to put in the peeling. You like to more north-southbound design because your rack space could be limited, or you like to try more fabric style to adopt the pizza box, okay? So this is all the same, our design principle. So from external TCAN, you could turn higher scale on your ACO, higher scale on the overall of the match scale and the flow spec as well. Okay. This one is give you kind of summary. Right? So this is hard coded from the Jericho family. So basically from Jericho, Jericho Plus, Jericho 2, Jericho 2C. So basically, right, you can see the overall bandwidth, right, from 720, 900. That's the really, really deep jump from the Jericho Plus to Jericho 2 up to 4.8 terabit. And Broadcom also consider it's right to build another one called Jericho 2C. See, it's kind of cut in half from the 4.8 to the 2.5. So this is perfect for the single chip solution of the architecture on the single box. And this is also the lineup our strategy using the 4.8 terabit to pure optimize on our 400 gig transaction for the 400 line card, or optimize 100 gig depending on how to combo with the 100, 200, and 400 gig. Okay, so, and you probably can see, right, some of the timing support and power here. So the timing support is from the 5G. They also have the requirement on the so-called Class C. So currently, all the 4G is based on Class B. So we are evolving starting from Jericho 2, we could embrace the more precisely timing of the calculation on the Class C to give you much better of time stamping over granularity. Okay, so stay with this one. Yes, of course, we could benefit all the new feature from, for example, right, Jericho for Jericho 2, it unleashed a lot of good feature, especially on the egress side. So on the Jericho family, at least current stage, right, we are more support on the ingress functionality. So we are good on the ingress ACO, ingress net flow, ingress QoS, but certain have not really good at our ingress. So in the Jericho 2, right, it's really unleashed all the restrictions. So from the counter, from the performance, we a lot of good stuff expecting here. But our current strategy is to quickly migrate for customer have the immediate need for 400 gig from web customer, from key service provider, okay? So this is the kind of give you the full picture, right? And when you try to build your network design, you need to decide what kind of routing table you need. Do you require timing? Do you require a MACsec? How many 440 gig you need it? Do you require the pay-as-you grow? So we give you a very, very rich portfolio here. And this is a very good summary from your capacity. Do they have an external TCAN? Do you require the native 25 gig? So you could decide which Jericho Plus family, to have a MACsec, and all kind of combination to give you the good reach of the, the planning you like to, what kind of optimize your, overall architecture you like to moving forward. And of course, right, this is could be used in all the 4th law, 8th law, and 16th law. But in the meantime, of course, this one is really pretty much take a lot of adoption here is really pizza box. And pizza box, just as I mentioned, right, get more attention in terms of the easy maintain. As long as you have the good automation, how to turn on your service, and from the fabric architecture, right, the pizza box is really much easier to form your overall architecture and topology you like to have. Okay, so we have a 1RU, 2RU, 1RU of 36 by 100 gig. You can see, right, also have the SE, non-SE. We have a 2 Jericho Plus back-to-back for 24 port by 100 gig. And we also have the 25 gig optimized for 48 port for the data center I just mentioned. And this one I like to spend a little bit of time because this is really get a lot of attention from the enterprise as well. So this one we call the modular. So when we engage the majority of the enterprise or small size of the service provider, they say, hey, Peter, you guys offer too much density or 100 gig. We need more 10 gig, 1 gig, 10 gig, this kind of gradually adapt to the overall of the 100 gig transaction. And we say, hey, we could offer you the breakout. And they say, some customers don't like the breakout. So we do listen and we respond. This requirement is we come up with the 2RU platform. So this one, the beauty of this one is to offer you of a total of 40 gig. On the bottom here, you can use 1 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig, depending on optical or speed you like to have. But in the meantime, we give you 2 slots here. That 2 slots you could choose for all or any combination you like to have. You can have 100 gig, you have 10 gig OTN, you can have IP over DWDM, depending on your topology you have. So this platform is really, really popular at this moment and get a lot of momentum from enterprise, pre-aggregation for the 5G, and overall because this the flexibility for you accommodate overall different of the speed. And even further, right, again, from this platform, we give you SE, non-SE, okay? Even further is if you have an environment, you need to put the box outdoor. For cabinet, you need the industrial temperature, minus 40 to 65. We also give you that option. So if you have a very strict requirement for the temperature and you need to put it outdoor, we give you a solution. So this platform really is so far I think we are taking a lot of momentum. It's perfectly match our current 5G architecture. So the solution-wise, right, especially from the IP over DVN side, right, customers really benefit or understand how to cut down their operation cost using this approach. Okay, so this one, and make no mistake, right? So this is a single chip of Jericho Plus. So you can imagine this single box is 900 gig. You could plan your capacity, how much you grow. So the typical we help the customer to do the planning is a little bit reverse engineer. So circle reverse is which means tell me how many users you needed, how many capacity you needed. So we kind of reverse back how many bandwidths you needed, and we come out a structure, what kind of box how many you will be needed, and overall aggregation you like to have. So it's a little bit reverse engineer, but really try to maximize, because we have so many different options on the portfolio, on the hardware pit, and the overall is really, give you the best cost structure, optimization on your topology, okay? And the same principle here is the line card here. So line card also like to adopt more Ethernet here, so give you the 2 slot here. You can use the modularization. So currently, our hardware strategy roadmap is very clear, right? Continue to drive the more reach of the MPA. So basically, we have 200 gig or even 400 MPA capacity down the road, and make sure this kind of portfolio transaction could able to make different type of media like to have. Okay, and again, right, MACsec timing is all given. So you don't need to worry about, let's say, your particular portfolio missing the one. And this is really important for our architecture to Phil just mentioned about the 5G and the cable remote file. So it's really common denominator is the timing, MACsec, second routing, EVPN. So this is really kind of the consistent strategy. And so you guys don't need to confuse about, what kind of adoption you need to have. Yeah.
I have a question here.
Yes.
And so the move to merchant silicon makes sense, and but what it does, right, is it takes the hardware supported feature differentiation away, like so between you and your competitors, which means the software is more of the focus about what you can provide, automation,
correct,
tools, and software, things like that, because the hardware supported features are going to be determined by the chipset. So the question I have for you is, how are you balancing the need to make that software better with code reliability? Because code reliability has been a big thing just generally, not just with Cisco, with everybody, but just in general. As things have been moving faster, it feels like the code is becoming less reliable. We're doing more QA, more troubleshooting, more whatever. So I'd like to hear and this might bridge presentations here, so I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot.
No problem. Yeah.
But what are you doing within your program to make sure that the code that's coming out is stable and reliable, and what are you doing to make that better, because it hasn't been great?
So there's a couple of ways you could address this one, right? So let's know, there's no limit to continue to improve the quality. I think our SVP, to me, take a very, very strong commitment on this one because the quality, there's no compromise. So sometimes you can see our release slightly delay a little bit. That delay is not because we kind of intentionally do that. It's really we not compromise the quality. So Cisco guarantee for any EMR release for extended memories, you definitely have the best quality because internally we have a lot of scoreboard to make sure all the automation to be already finished and all kind of the scorecard, you know, how many backlog, customer found defect. I think we could take different form to discuss our initiative. So this is continued milestone to running marathon. There's no stop here. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, internally we also noticed some way to more innovation to improve the quality, just like you say, with merchant silicon. So we try to more abstraction our silicon there. So let's say we have so many different silicon, Broadcom, Cisco internal. So our long-term strategy is really abstraction, API. So when you develop a new feature, a lot of code rate is existing. You just go through the API. So this is the one of our internal we are trying to do here. And of course, another initiative more called like FastPass is really more code depth style. Make sure all the UT testing in conjunction with code developing. So this is our key, I would say, occupy a lot of our engineering resource and recognize the quality is important here. That's the, I'm hoping this is the, not a political answer, but it's the truly driven we are in our daily practice for sure.
I understand it's a difficult question to answer, but
yeah, it is.
So it needs to improve, and I think everybody in the room would say there's always room for improvement, but it needs to improve. So I want to know, so you're saying the fact that you're using merchant silicon, there's less dependence on the hardware directly,
exactly,
is actually a piece of that stability or a component that's going to hopefully make things more stable as new releases come out. I just see I see them as competing priorities. Get new features out versus stable code, right? Those things that it's difficult to manage both those things at the same time. And when you lose the advantage of having the hardware differentiation, all of a sudden the software differentiation matters a whole lot more. And so I get that the merchant silicon is there, and I don't want to harp on the topic, so I apologize if I'm taking too much time. But I guess the question is, what is happening internally to try to bring that code a bit better?
No, I mean, this is the really everyday debating, right? Yeah. Because we have tons of business escalation try to drive new feature. Yeah. So typically we set a very key milestone, right? So beyond this time frame, sorry, you need to wait for the next trend. Okay. And this principle is really important. Make sure everybody in the business unit recognize. So make sure the timeline, milestone is finished. So this let engineer have enough time to absorb the coding, developing in the same time. And back to your merchant silicon, right? So if you decide, I kind of mentioned a couple of times the SDK, yep. The SDK or abstract API. This will help us for long term. So when they more maturize on the API, which means you're able to quickly adopt the much more new feature down the road. Mm-hmm. So the early investment for this platform, that's why we take 3 years to up to this point, right? So this kind of the abstraction layer for all the coding to help us to speed up, you know, the Jericho Plus, Jericho 2 down the road will be.
Without necessarily compromising.
Yes. And it's very important, back to your question, yes, everybody using the merchant silicon. Mm-hmm. But this kind of wrap it up for the overall roadmap strategy I'd like to share here is there's a quick summary for what we are doing at this moment. I think there's only 4 major components we need to emphasize here. Number 1 is security. So there's no compromise on the hardware, software security. I think Phil mentioned what we are initiative here. So let's keep it. So if you look at our release, probably every release you can notice Cisco continue to release a lot of new security features across the entire SP portfolio. Number 2 and number 3 actually is combined together. It's EBP and second routing. So definitely Cisco leading on this area for sure. Okay, and we certainly a lot of use case, right? And from the overall, from architectural shipment. And the last button is, you probably cannot notice from our roadmap here, is our internal innovation. So basically, everybody using Broadcom or the standard SDK, and supposedly we should have a same limitation, but Cisco only some innovation internally, so we could work around particular scenario. Mm-hmm. I think we could have some very outstanding example like SRv6. So we do it in Jericho Plus family. So this is the 4 major components in conjunction with the software improvement. Pretty much it occupy our every 24-hour job in our organization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. The IPO DDM, right? So this is really interesting. So if you look at the traditionally, so the typical headache for the customer is the metro distance, how to beyond 80 kilometer. This is, for some reason, 80 kilometer is a very sweet spot. And between the 50 and the 80 kilometer, customer no choice, need to go with the transponder for legacy IPO DDN. However, now the story changed a little bit because all the silicon evolved technology, so all the transponder functionality could put into very tiny chipset for the DSP functionality and put into the optics. And this is the big deal, huge deal. So basically, from your overall topology, your equipment, you could combine these two in a single optics and modularization. So you could fan out your overall the aggregation architecture, as I mentioned in this one. This is so popular from the emerging market, right? They adopt the IPO DWN to embrace their metro network and aggregate all the 1 gig, 10 gig down the road here. Okay, so I think this is also be interesting from financial enterprise because they have a dedicated optical network. So I know sometimes this belongs to different group, but this kind of architecture really benefit a lot of the the cost saving and the technology benefit, power consumption, all kind of stuff put together. Okay. The last point I'd like to talk about is 400 gig. Okay, so 400 gig right now pretty dominant is coming from the Web OTT customer. They are like to quickly transaction from 400 gig data center. And as a Cisco, we are not behind. We are also part of the game here. And really important is that our 400 story is a help to make sure the compatible and invest protection. So basically, we are using the Jericho 2 to give you 2 flavor line card. Number 1 is 24 port by 400 gig. So you could put 2 Jericho, 9.6 terabit. And the second one is again, 2 Jericho plus, 2 Jericho 2, and put an external TCAM, total 7.2 terabit for you to do the peering. Okay? Keep in mind, these 2 line cards could be used on our existing chassis. We are not reinvent the wheel, say brand new family. Again, it's important. This is invest protection. So existing customer, for example, you put in Europe, you already 100 gig, you like to migrate to 400 gig, you just bought our 400 line card here. Yes, you need to upgrade your fabric, okay? But in the meantime, the same chassis, the same RP, you upgrade your fabric, you could plug in the 400 gig line card. This is a big deal again. I know the different type, sometimes you need to brand new chassis, but for us, is a very critical mission is the invest protection. So customer could continue using their empty slot to do the 400 gig migration. That's the very, very key differential here I'd like to highlight. Okay, so we already launched the fabric, and by end of this year, we're going to offer the 2 flavor line card. And of course, right down the road, 2020, 21, I think we are all clear strategy is the layout of Jericho 2 and Jericho 2C. Okay?